It's Press Pass with Jack Ebling, Mid-Michigan's spirited sports debate. Now let's get talking sports. Here's Jack.
Great evening, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time to meet Team 208. Tom Crawford, my longtime radio partner, Blue Belly Tom. He is the Tuesday and Thursday co-host on The Drive with Jack. You're home for We Are There Sports Radio, and we were there yesterday at Michigan Stadium.
We ran into each other at the Big House at the Southeast Gate on Stadium Boulevard.
Small crowds, you know, you get people
very disappointed, though. Jack Ebling was not wearing maize and blue as a fan at Michigan Stadium. But
if you would have taken that bet, you're dumber than I think you are. I'll tell you what. No, it was a good day.
Your friend Marty there, a long time.
Marty Makinen.
7th grade.
Yeah, it was a beautiful afternoon, really. We were seated in row 2. Whoa. So we could just about reach out and catch some of those incomplete passes from Wilton Spate.
Oh, so that's the way the show is going to go, huh?
A lot of them. Also joined by Al Martin, and he is the host of Current Sports on WKAR, AM 870. Al, how are you?
Jack, how you doing, my man? In row 2, man, I'm trying to be like you when I grew up, dude. That's some big bucks to be in row 2 at the Big House,
glad
man.
They dropped the field from back in the 70s. You wouldn't have seen anything.
Right. But what's up, Jack?
Don't ever grow up. It's overrated.
Right. I'm counting my days, man.
After all the college football yesterday, you're a boxing guy.
Yes.
And you saw Triple G and Canelo, and you saw it a lot better than apparently Adelaide Bird, one of the judges, did, right?
Exactly. I don't know what she saw, but 118 to 110, a lot of question marks that I will elaborate on more so in the later part of the show.
We'll talk about that
we'll
a
get
little
to
bit
that.
more.
Sounds like an NBA scorer.
Right?
Yeah. Also joined by Doug Warren, and he is our Detroit Lions and NFL historian, and he is also the producer of The Drive with Jack and the Spartan Beat. And 1 year ago, you were out in front of the curve. You gave us the Washington Huskies.
Yeah. Yep.
This year, it gave us the LSU Tigers, and Mississippi State gave LSU a spanking.
They did. They did. It was a very impressive win for Mississippi State. It's still early, Jack. Maybe if LSU runs the table, but boy, last night that doesn't look like they're running the table. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you win some, you lose some, and the LSU pick as a dark horse national champion, and not so good so far. But.
And the Detroit Lions in action tomorrow night.
Yep, big Monday night game for the Lions. Can they go into the Meadowlands and beat Eli Manning and the Giants? If they do, they'll start 2-0, and it'll be a good test for them to see if they can return to the playoffs for the first time since '95 in back-to-back seasons.
It's hard to believe. Lions could have a better record than the New England Patriots after week 2.
Crazy. That's what the NFL likes, so that parity, Jack.
We're going to talk a lot of college football coming up. We're going to start with the Michigan Wolverines and the national landscape. And then we'll get to the Michigan State Spartans getting ready for a big game against Notre Dame and a missionary trip to the Houston area. We'll be right back with more here on Press Pass.
No matter what job I've got to do, my John Deere 5E tractor can do it all. Whether I'm cutting, moving feed, or building a fence. Using my 5E means my work gets done faster at a price I can afford, and that works for me.
D&G Equipment, providing ag and turf solutions in Mason, Williamston, Corona, Howell, Highland, Charlotte, and Rives Junction.
When you find something you've been craving, it's easy to get lost in the moment. Whether you're getting breakfast on the go, picking out the perfect slice, or creating it your way, all of our food is prepared fresh daily and ready for you when the moment strikes. Get lost in our new Mega Stuffer with 75% more stuffing and cheesy goodness. They're buy one, get one free for a limited time.
We're on the way, the convenience stores of Speedway.
After reviewing the play, you should be driving a Honda from Capital Honda. During Capital Honda's Savings Rush, catch 2017 Honda Accord LX, 0 down, $219 a month. Score 2017 Honda Civic LX, $169 a month. Rush to Capital Honda today.
Introducing A&W's new chicken sandwiches. 2 large, juicy hand-breaded chicken tenders stacked with toppings to create the ultimate 2-handwich. Choose from classic or buffalo slaw. Made with Frank's Red Hot Buffalo Sauce. Now at your local A&W.
Let Larry find a great deal for you at Larry's RV in Jackson.
Larry, are you out there?
Team spirit. Face paint.
more cowbell. Dean Trailway's motor coach takes care of your travel, so you can support your favorite Spartan teams and focus on the important things. Dean Trailways, your favorite ride.
The student bookstores are Green and White Shop headquarters. Outfit your entire family with Spartan gear. We have a large selection of men's, women's, and children's clothing. Show off your Michigan State pride with new shoes, socks, hats, and more. Have your tailgate ready with MSU party supplies, car accessories, and dress your pet in green and white. We have gifts for students, grads, alumni, and fans. From Vera Bradley and Dooney and Burke to diploma frames and more. Always shop SBS for the biggest and best selection of green and white. Go green, go white, go SBS.
I thought both teams played really good red zone defense today. We had the right calls on at the right time. Pushed them back out of the opportunities to score touchdowns, and they held the line as well. Hats off to both teams for really good red zone defense.
That's Michigan head football coach Jim Harbaugh talking about the Wolverines' defense. A lot to talk about there, not so much with the offense. Doug Warren, what does it mean? We knew how hard Air Force would play.
Right.
But the Falcons, without a single player that Michigan would have recruited, were in position to trail 22-20 if a blatant roughing the passer call had been made before the missed field goal.
Yeah, well, I think what it says about Michigan is that their offense right now is broken. It's certainly fixable. They have the talent, but the question is, and this is something Tom and I have talked about since last season. If Jim Harbaugh is the play caller, he needs to be more innovative and do a better job of play calling in the red zone. I mean, thus far this season, 10 drives in the red zone, 1 touchdown for all the talent that they have. And yes, Air Force played hard, but they've struggled all year. And I think it's even more of a problem than it is with Wilton Speight is the play calling and maximizing talent and minimizing weakness while they try to get Speight back on his feet and get him comfortable.
Defense, Tom, we know how good that group is. Special teams, yesterday you saw Donovan Peoples-Jones, what he can do, how special.
Yeah.
What's it going to take to get this offense on track?
It's the O-line. I mean, that's where it started. The delayed blitzes, Air Force was delaying their blitzes like 3 or 4 seconds to go on the play clock, and Speight was not able to handle that thing. Very strategic on their part, particularly in the red zone. But you're right. I mean, the ratios of getting it, it's like 1 for 10 for the season in the red zone. It's ridiculous. But I'm telling you what, it's a team failure. I mean, as talented as the wide receivers are, they're running really bad post corners. I was on the binoculars on a lot of different aspects. It's not totally on Wilton Speight. Right. Part of it is, but that O-line, the right side of the offensive line has got to get better to beat good teams. And so, it's hanging on that defense. They got a good kicker in Quinn Nordine, but they're going to get stung if they rely on that component. They got to get that O going.
Hard to do it with 3s, Al, when other teams are getting 7s. Air Force was not in that situation. Did get 1 touchdown pass. It was the only completion of the day for Air Force. But Michigan's going to have to do some things differently now in Big Ten play.
Yeah, for sure. And, you play a Purdue squad on the road next week that looks pretty good, I must say. So, in evaluating this game, again, Stevie Wonder could see what's wrong with this team right now. Props to the defense. The defense, I think, has been a pleasant surprise, Tom.
Right.
They've been fast. They've been able to get, a nice pass rush growing. You mentioned the special teams. Quinn Nordine, 11 field goals this year already. He's on pace to break the record of 25, I believe, is the season record. But when it comes to the offense, consistency. And again, to harp on what Doug had to say, I mean, in the red zone, 1 for 10 for the season, 0 for 4 on Saturday. It comes down to play calling. That 1st and goal in the first half on the 9. And you got to play to your strengths. And they decided to go in the back of the end zone in the corner. Wilton Speight has not been very accurate. Very puzzling stuff. So I thought they should have ran there. We'll see what happens against Purdue, though. This is going to be an interesting test on the road.
Tom, who is responsible for this Michigan's offense? Is it Jim Harbaugh's offense? Is it Tim Drevno's offense? Is it Pep Hamilton as passing game guru?
Bit of, I mean, let's face it, Harbaugh, he calls the shots. I mean, let's be clear on that. I mean, Drevno's more the O-line guy. Pep Hamilton is a quarterback guy. maybe that needs to be tweaked. I really think that Jed Fisch's departure to UCLA and that dynamic that he had with Wilton Speight is clearly understated. No one's really drawn attention to that.
I was going to bring that up. Why did Fisch leave? What he just didn't see eye to eye?
Well, he's got a larger role at UCLA. I think more money.
Okay.
And I think that's part of
it.
Is
that just simply? Well, there got to be other reasons rather than making more money, right?
So many times Wilton Speight would refer to the communication that he had with Jed last year in the post-game and the press conference. I mean, you could hear it, and it's not, especially in the Wisconsin game when he finally hit that pass to Darbo and get him on straight. So, I think that's part of it. But I still think this is a work in progress, like a lot of teams. There's a lot, and when we look at college football, we'll talk about this later. There's a lot of flawed teams, and Michigan is one of them.
Every time the coaches called a bad play yesterday, and there were a lot of situations where I thought they put their players not in a situation to succeed, the fans around me blame Wilton Speight more. So that's kind of the way it works.
It's more than Wilton Speight right now. Yeah. Again, looking at the entire picture here and the inefficiency of this offense, Jack. Again, it comes down to the play calling. It comes to guys up front blocking. It comes down to the wide receivers. That's a lazy sports opinion when you just point at the quarterback.
The other thing too that I've noticed: 21 penalties for Michigan through 3 games, 7 in each game. That's highly unusual, especially if you're a team like them. It's supposed to be disciplined and.
That's a young O-line. That's I wasn't worried about that defense. Even because I knew all the talent, because that's pure reactionary. But the O-line, we talked about this, Jack. That was what I was worried about. And it's taken a little bit longer than I thought. I mean, they can't score. They up the middle in the A and B gap. There's
a lot of the plays. They're just not designed what you would want in a certain situation. Al, I talked to Rico Beard this afternoon, and he called Michigan the worst 3-0 team in the country.
Well, big surprise there,
no surprise there.
Wow. A lot of credibility in that comment coming from Rico Beard.
He never misses a game, Tom. He watches every one.
Of course he is. He's obsessed. He's a hater.
He watches it more objective than a lot of people I sat with yesterday at Michigan Stadium. We'll be back talking about the national landscape next.
Hello, my name is Dr. John Braccio, psychologist. If you or your child have problems with focus, inattention, sitting still, memory, concentration, these are traits of ADHD. Visit us at drjohnb.com.
I can get you in this Malibu for $152 a month.
We need to save people money. Woo!
Good news, you can get it for $120 a month.
Hiring Caesar's been our best idea yet. He's really saved our customers a lot of money. We're tackling high prices at every Graf dealership.
Lease a 2017 Chevy Malibu, just $120 a month, or drive off in a brand new 2018 Equinox, just $110 a month.
And we'll give you a minimum of $3,000 for your trade.
We're tackling high prices at every Graf dealership.
At Fabiano's Pizzeria, we're more than great pizza. We're family. We're friends. We're a team. Dough and sauce made from scratch. We're serious about quality. And we're honored to serve you. Fabiano's Pizzeria, Westphalia. Just down the road.
Hello, my name is Dr. John Braccio, psychologist. If you or your child have problems with focus, inattention, sitting still, memory, concentration, these are traits of ADHD. Visit us at drjohnb.com.
The Abood Law Firm, your first and last defense for over 50 years.
With the David Chapman Agency, auto owners' insurance policies come with something extra. Local agents who care about you. Our agents will help you find the right coverage at the best price. 3 generations serving you at the David Chapman Agency, your local auto owners' insurance agents.
Fall is here, and at American Metal Roofs, our schedule's getting tight. To get your new roof before winter, you must order now. This month, you'll save up to $7,500. Call 844-METAL-ROOFS today and visit
AmericanMetalRoofs.com.
Welcome back to Press Pass and the Big Picture, brought to you by Dean Trailways. With trips for every season, Dean takes care of the details so you can enjoy the experience. including daily casino runs and great getaways to northern Michigan and Chicago. Doug Warren and I took a Dean Luxury Cruiser to Chicago and joined 27 pro football greats, more than 100 supporters of the Shinsky Orphanage in Matamoros, not far from landfall for Hurricane Harvey.
Just, it's a great start for us in ACC play. Obviously, huge division game. We didn't win the division tonight or anything like that, but it's certainly good momentum. Anytime you can go on the road and win, it's a big boost for you. But it takes a lot of mental toughness and focus to be able to go on the road and win. And we had two goals tonight. One was to get the job done. The other one was to leave no doubt. Hats off to the team. Great victory for us, and we'll keep moving forward.
That's Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney. Doug Warren, what does Clemson's win at Louisville and the way that the Tigers handled Lamar Jackson say? And what was your take on Purdue going to Missouri and completely throttling an SEC team?
Well, I think what it says first about Clemson is that they're the best team in the country. And Alabama, of course, they're maybe going to a showdown again for the third straight year. But Clemson, not only the win yesterday, but the win a week ago against Auburn, the game wasn't even close. They just dominated the last 2 weeks, and those are two teams that are probably top 15 going into the weekend. So they're the best team in the country. Kelly Bryant is a Deshaun Watson clone. I mean, they look exactly like the same guy.
He can run the ball so well.
He's just impressive. Louisville, 118 yards passing through 3 quarters, and then they trying to come back. But
you would have Clemson number 1.
I would. If I had a vote, I'd have Clemson number 1. And again, it's a 1A and 1B with Alabama. But as far as Purdue goes, it's coaching, Jack. When you get a guy like Jeff Brom in there, and he at Western Kentucky, his team led the league in the nation in scoring last year, 44.5 points a game. I knew that Purdue would be better offensively, but for him to do what he's doing, they opened the game yesterday with 75, 87, 96-yard touchdown drives. 9 Purdue players ran the football, 13 of them caught passes. He's an absolute maestro when it comes to running an offense and calling plays in game and making adjustments. Purdue, I don't know how good they're going to be.
We're going to find out.
You're going to find out this weekend. Yeah, they're an incredible team, and he's the coach of the year so far.
Guys, what do you think about this idea of Clemson being number 1 ahead of Alabama? What about Oklahoma?
Yeah, how about Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma went into Columbus and handled the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
I still think that is the most impressive win.
That's true. Okie State went pounded Pitt, which a team that Penn State didn't beat as much at home. I mean, I started to do that associated property, and Okie State, to me, is playing out pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. You like Oklahoma State better than Oklahoma? That's biased.
Right,
you got buddies at Oklahoma State.
No. I'm just looking. I'm looking at the body of work and the eye test right now. But we'll find out on November the 4th.
All right. We always use this transitive property to compare teams, especially at this point of the season. What about USC? And they needed a fortuitous fumble recovery in 2 overtimes to beat a Texas team that lost to Maryland by 10 at home.
I know that property. I know I play that game all the time, but I'm telling you, USC cannot run the football at all. And Sam Darnold, he's had multiple interceptions in 2 of his 3 games. They look bad. Texas is not a very good football team, but I gave them a lot. They had a lot of moxie coming back, and they had a backup quarterback, a freshman. Ellinger, who came in there and did a tremendous job. So I think Tom Herman's got that program. It's going to take a couple years, but they will be back. And let's just have Texas play USC, man. That works out pretty entertaining.
Why is it taking so long?
I don't know. It took 11 years.
I remember they played before. That was a pretty good game, too.
It was cool seeing Vince Young and Matt Leinart both at the game as well.
There you
go.
I liked it when USC players scored, too. They'd come in the end zone, they high-five Matt.
Hey, that's for you, Matt.
If you look at this week's Associated Press poll, Al, are there any teams that stand out to you as maybe being in the wrong place? And if you look at these 4 Big Ten teams at the end of the year, how will those 4 be ranked? We're talking about Penn State, number 4, Michigan 8, Wisconsin 9, Ohio State 10.
Well, I'll tell you what, really brief, just looking at the Big Ten right there, I mean, Michigan dropping to 7-8 because they look pretty pedestrian for the most part against Air Force. Wisconsin outscoring opponents 100-30 right now. OSU moves down 2 spots. Penn State beats Akron, Pitt, and Georgia State, doing nothing to go against their argument, right?
Georgia State.
Exactly, right. So all these teams in the Big Ten except one will not play one another.
We'll be right back talking Michigan State up next.
MSU Federal Credit Union will help start your kids out on the right financial path. Teach your children how to save money in all stages of their lives with MSU FCU's youth accounts. Stop in today or visit msufcu.org for more information.
Total Firearms on Cedar Street in Mason is your complete outdoor store. We have rifles, pistols, bows, and crossbows, and a huge selection of fishing gear at great prices. Total Firearms, your complete outdoor store with Mid-Michigan's finest indoor gun range.
At Sawyer Chevrolet, we are committed to transforming the car buying experience.
So many of the best previously owned cars and trucks to choose from. We hand select them and make sure they're in superior condition for you. We only handle the best, let the other guys deal with the rest. Most importantly, we put our guarantee behind every used car or truck. 3 months or 3,000 miles means you can rest assured you won't regret choosing Sawyer's. You never overpay at Sawyer Chevrolet. You have my word on it.
Fun and unpredictable?
Pickler and Ben weekdays starting September 18th at 3 on Fox 47.
Greater Lansing, Michigan is the winning choice for your next athletic tournament or event. From art court to shooting sports, soccer, baseball, and bowling, we've got facilities available near team-friendly dining and lodging options. Having a Big Ten school in our backyard gives our community a constant buzz of youthful enthusiasm and provides a host of top-notch sports venues available to visiting groups as well. The GLSA is excited to be a part of your team. Contact us today.
Anyone who's had our chicken knows it's plump and juicy. What they may not know is that it's also 100% natural.
All our chickens are certified, humanely raised, no antibiotics, on a high-quality diet of soy and grain.
Why are they called tenders?
They're called tenders because they come from the tenderloin of the breast, hand-trimmed just for colors. It's not a strip or a finger, it is the true tenderloin.
I'll put our chicken tenders up against anybody's.
That's like my Granny Franklin used to make. That's outstanding, Craig.
Welcome to Delicious.
The Knapp Center is a historical hub for future business growth in beautiful downtown Lansing.
The Ide Company did the best they could to preserve the integrity of the history of this building while incorporating a modern open workspace.
They have been prompt, they have been efficient, and they really are a friendly, great group of people that we don't have any concerns about calling them for any of our needs.
Opportunities for retail, office, restaurant, and residential. Build the future as a member of the Ide Company family.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for our Going Green segment, brought to you by Graff Chevrolet, a trusted friend with 103 years in the automobile business. Stop and see Matt, Mark, and Greg on West Grand River in Okemos. They'll take great care of you, as they have on all 6 of my leases and purchases. Go green, go Graff.
We go into the bye week, and again, the bye week, our focus will be on working on the field, off the field as well, academically. Make sure we're doing a little bit of recruiting. We'll practice 3 times this week, and then we need to stay fresh and healthy. That's probably as big a focus as anything. Right now, we're a healthy football team. We need to stay that way and start to prepare for Notre Dame.
That's Michigan State head football coach Mark D'Antonio. Tom Crawford, 1 year ago, Michigan State 2-0, number 8 in the country.
Yes.
And then went on and lost 9 of the last 10 games.
That Wisconsin game is when it kind of all came unraveled.
Could that happen again, or is this a totally different Michigan State team?
Well, I'm not saying this is totally different, but this is a good team. I like, from a Michigan State, when you look at their team, their defense, all 3 levels, really impresses me. And I think they're going to provide a lot of pressure up against the quarterback of Notre Dame. And I think they're going to win this game, Jack. I think they're going to win this game. They're going to stripe the stadium white and green, every other section. It's at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. And then you got a very unimpressive Iowa team coming in behind that. I think they're 4-0 coming into Ann Arbor for an 8 o'clock tilt on October 7th, 2017. It's going to be great.
8 o'clock, man.
Yeah,
that'd be something, wouldn't it? Both those teams unbeaten.
Jack and I will get home about 3 in the morning.
Yeah, right. Night game, Michigan and Michigan State.
We got home about 1 in the morning last time. It was an afternoon game. So Tom was so busy celebrating that game in 2015, I just couldn't pull him out. And
I had to stop at a therapist every other mile.
Al, when you think about this team now and what the players did during their week off, and so many of them wanted to go to Texas. It wound up with a smaller group going, but they were described as knights in shining armor when they went in there and did all that relief effort. And you look at some of the tweets and some of the players, what they had put out. There you see Jake Hartbarger talking about what it meant to him, the experience, and being a victory for MSU in another way. Matt Allen also talking about this. And he said just doing clearing up some of the damage from Hurricane Harvey. Now, these guys can't go in there and fix this problem. Nobody can. Right. But the fact that they would do this says a little bit about who they are, and can it bring the team closer together?
Oh, for sure. And first off, it speaks to the character of this program that starts at Mark D'Antonio and kind of just trickles down, right? A great representation for not only the program, but also the school as well. But, you know, Houston natives and Darryl Stewart Jr. and Tyler Higbee, right. They're from that area. And to go down there along with their teammates, and I just want to shout them out one by one really quick here, Jack. Matt Allen, Matt Sokol, Brent Scanlon, Jake Hartbarger, as you mentioned, Josh Butler, and Jack McKenna. They all went down there along with Stewart and Higbee. Right. And the trip was organized by the Spartans Athletes in Action chapter. Right. And when you go down there for something like this, a story that has really touched the hearts of many, right? It builds a bond, because now this team, when making a trip like that, you understand that this is more than football, right? You form a bond, and it really becomes a family, especially seeing where Stewart and Higbee are from. For the teammates that went down there with them, it strengthens that bond from a personal aspect of family. And I think that's really important, especially seeing where this program was just a year ago.
Tom, we see sometimes where teams take side trips and really use it as an educational experience. This is a little bit more than that, because they're actually helping somebody.
Well, yeah, and I saw some of the images, last night. I mean, that's hard work. I mean, there's no air conditioning down there in some of those houses.
Wearing masks.
Wearing masks.
Yeah.
I mean, you're scraping the floor. I mean, this is grunt work. And I tell you what, this is the good part of college football that needs to be revealed more often than some of the negative stuff that comes out.
Doug, a big doubleheader coming up Saturday here on Fox 47. You've got Michigan at Purdue and then Notre Dame at Michigan State at 8 o'clock. These two schools are so intertwined in so many ways historically. And now, very possible this will be the last time they play, at least for the foreseeable future. What is that going to mean?
Well, it'll be sad if that happens. People who know, Michigan State probably doesn't get into the Big Ten as soon as they do without Notre Dame legitimizing them by scheduling them when nobody, especially the team down the road, didn't want to do it in the 50s. The relationship between Father Hesburgh and John Hanna, Michigan State fans should have a gratitude attitude forever because of what Notre Dame did for them to put them on the map. And yeah, again, the 66-10-10 tie, that speaks for itself. But it'd be sad if this rivalry doesn't continue in some way, shape, or form, and there's a big hiatus where people will begin to forget about what important set ahead.
And just about all the living members from that 66 team are going to be here, and they've invited the Notre Dame players. Terry Hanratty, George Gedicke, all those guys are coming in too. So it's going to be a very special time for them to get together, and it's going to be a pretty special time on the field too, I think, with Michigan State and Notre Dame going at it one more time. When we get back, we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions and the National Football League. Can they get it done? Can they get a win on the road? We'll find out tomorrow night. We'll be right back on Press Pass.
At Fabiano's Pizzeria, we're more than great pizza. We're family. We're friends. We're a team. Dough and sauce made from scratch. We're serious about quality. And we're honored to serve you. Fabiano's Pizzeria, Westphalia. Just down the road.
Team spirit, face paint, more cowbell. Dean Trailway's Motor Coach takes care of your travel, so you can support your favorite Spartan teams and focus on the important things. Dean Trailways, your favorite ride.
Coach's All-American Pub and Grill. What makes us All-American? Enjoying great food with ice-cold beverages and friendly service. Watching the game on one of our 21 large-screen TVs with a variety of fun indoor and outdoor entertainment every night of the week. Connecting with friends, dining with family, or catching the game, you'll always have a great time. Coach's All-American Pub and Grill, Great food, fun, and friends.
Catch all the savings and excitement during Capital Honda's Savings Rush, now at Capital Honda.
Every day at Sparrow, we come together to plan the best cancer treatment. We review all of the details. Sparrow brings this collaborative process to all of our patients. I'm prepared to tell my patient, this is the plan, before I walk through the door, and know that it's the recommendation of our entire team.
When you find something you've been craving, it's easy to get lost in the moment. Whether you're getting breakfast on the go, picking out the perfect slice, or creating it your way, all of our food is prepared fresh daily and ready for you when the moment strikes. Get lost in our new Mega Stuffer with 75% more stuffing and cheesy goodness. They're buy one, get one free for a limited time.
We're on the way, the convenience stores of Speedway.
Welcome back. It is Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for our Law of the Jungle segment, brought to you by Woody's Oasis on Trowbridge Road, your healthy alternative to fast food. Eat Woody's and live longer. I'm talking about chicken shawarma with baked fresh meat and hummus made fresh in a 3-day process. That's why I'm there every week. The Detroit Lions in action, a rare Monday night game. They don't play too many of these, Doug.
Yeah, they haven't been good enough
about the franchise.
Yeah, it says a lot. It says a lot about it. No, it's just cut to the chase. They haven't been good enough to get a lot of Monday night games.
We saw the Lions and the Giants last December after Matthew Stafford's injury, and that made a big difference. How important is the injury to Odell Beckham, and what would it mean to the Lions if they can get this road win?
Well, it'd be good. They don't get a lot of road wins, but they're 2-0 against the Giants Monday night historically, but the Giants have won 4 of the last 5 games, and both teams didn't. The Lions, with the fourth quarter comeback, was big last week. The Giants didn't play well at all in week 1, but their defense was on the field for a ton of plays against the Cowboys, and that kind of reflected in the final score. But that Giants defense is really good, and it'll be a big test for Stafford and the Lions offense. Can the Lions find a running game? That's going to be a key. If you can keep Stafford on his feet and not, have him putting a bunch of pressure on him, if he's allowed to do what he can do, and how good is the Lions' defense? We'll find out with Eli Manning. It's going to be a very big test. And both teams, they don't want to start 0-2 because when you start 0-2, you don't usually make the playoffs. So both teams have a lot on the line tomorrow night.
Matthew Stafford has 9 fourth-quarter comebacks in the last 18 games. There are franchises that have 1 or 2, and some pretty good ones with 3 or 4. So it'll be interesting to see what this all means to him. Matthew Stafford is not a one-man team, Tom, but a lot of people put all the blame on him when things don't go well.
It's just like Wilton Spate. They are
It's always the quarterbacks, right? They get too much credit or too much blame.
Yeah.
What about the addition of Kenny Galladay? And people are already comparing him to some of the greats on Lions.
Well, I'm doing that right too. I jump on the bandwagon. Kenny Galladay, he runs great routes, and he's so competent as a rookie. I mean, even in the exhibition play, you could just tell. He's from Northern Illinois. I mean, that's a heck of a program. Ask Nebraska right now.
Right.
He's got good DNA, and I think he's going to be a relevant player and the guy that Matthew Stafford needs. But I'm more worried about the Lion defense, basically, and putting some pressure on Eli Manning, who's really one of those rhythm kind of quarterbacks. You get him going, look out.
Yeah,
and it's like Doug is saying, it's that defense. Can they defend the Giants? And I don't see it happening.
Al, you have a healthy Odell Beckham Jr. How does he stack up against Julio Jones and Antonio Brown?
Well, I tell you what, he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL for sure. He's right in that conversation. I tell you that he's one of the most athletic backs I've ever seen. But to go back briefly about the point that that you brought up about Matthew Stafford, I mean, it's amazing to me how Lions fans out there still criticize Matthew Stafford. Again, he's the highest paid player in the league. But again, NFL record. 8 comeback victories in the fourth quarter last season, right? He starts the year off with another one. And I just want to throw out something to get our viewers out there just to think for a second.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford, second all-time in NFL history in passing yards per game.
Wow.
Let that sink in. He's second to only Drew Brees, Peyton Manning is third, Tom Brady 6th, Aaron Rodgers 7th. That puts in perspective the durability and just how good Matthew Stafford has been with some not so great Lions teams from the past.
Yeah, and since 2011, he's got 27 comebacks in the fourth quarter overtime. It's astonishing what he's been able to do, despite the fact not having all kinds of talent around him.
And he's so durable.
Legit.
Why is there a beat on him then? I don't know.
Because that's just what people do, man.
That's why I go overreacting,
quarterback always gets blamed.
probably more than I should.
Yeah. Rico Beard always talks about this and says, well, they give him all the toys he could ever want. Well, if Eric Ebron's a toy, he's broken. Should have taken him back. Must have been a warranty somewhere on that.
Bad toy purchase.
Right, and Matt Shepard had a great stat a couple weeks ago when he was on the Drive with Jack. He said, you know how many 100-yard rushers have been on the Lions since Matthew Stafford was on the team? The answer is 7.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 100 yards 8 times last year by himself.
You got to have balance in the NFL.
Your Cowboys.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, my Cowboys. Exactly right. So, and speaking of that, I mean, the Giants are coming off a loss to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys are going to fall to the Denver Broncos today. I like this matchup for the Lions. I think they can start off the year undefeated against the Giants. I don't know. I think that I've never been a big Eli Manning fan.
Okay.
I think he's a bit overrated. And you talk about toys. I think Eli Manning is one of those quarterbacks that needs toys around him in order to be successful.
He does have 2 Super Bowls, which is one more postseason win than the Lions have had in the last 60 years.
Right, exactly. And speaking of the Giants as well, I know they'll be honoring the 2007 Super Bowl championship New York Giants team. That featured MSU's own Plaxico Burress, and he will be in the house for that game at halftime as well.
There you go. We should try to get him on the radio tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
There you go.
What about this Lions team and the overall perspective? If you look at the schedule, what is a fair expectation, and what would be a good season for this team? What would satisfy you?
Well, as I stated the last time I was on, Jack, I think 9 wins is reasonable for this. I think they'll squeak in with 9. I don't know if that'll do it.
That's not a division crown, but that's...
Right, not a division crown, but just enough to get in via a wild card
team.
Exactly.
One and done.
I think this is a wild card team.
Do they have to win a division title or win a playoff game, Doug?
I think so. I think Jim Caldwell's job is safe regardless. But to win a playoff game, obviously, with the fact that they've only done 1 since Eisenhower was president, that would be a big deal.
We'll be right back. We're going to talk a little baseball. Yes, they're still playing. Back in a minute on Press Pass.
With my moderate to severe Crohn's disease, I was always searching for ways to manage my symptoms. I thought I had it covered. Then I realized managing was all I was doing. When I finally told my doctor, he said Humira was for people like me, who've tried other medications but still experience the symptoms of moderate to severe Crohn's disease. In clinical studies, the majority of patients on Humira saw significant symptom relief, and many achieved remission.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
If you're still just managing your symptoms, ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, remission is possible.
Advanced technology and forecasting. Storm Shield weather. Only on Fox 47 News.
I can get you in this Malibu for $152 a month.
We need to save people money. Woo!
Good news. You can get it for $120 a month.
Hiring Caesar's been our best idea yet. He's really saved our customers a lot of money. We're tackling high prices at every Graf dealership.
Lease a 2017 Chevy Malibu, just $120 a month. Or drive off in a new Chevy Silverado Double Cab, just $127 a month.
And we'll give you a minimum of $3,000 for your trade.
We're tackling high prices at every Graf dealership.
Greater Lansing, Michigan is the winning choice for your next athletic tournament or event. From art court to shooting sports, soccer, baseball, and bowling, we've got facilities available near team-friendly dining and lodging options. Having a Big Ten school in our backyard gives our community a constant buzz of youthful enthusiasm and provides a host of top-notch sports venues available to visiting groups as well. The GLSA is excited to be a part of your team. Contact us today.
Working with the Ide Company, 1, is very easy to do. 2, they're very responsive to our needs. And 3, as we've grown as a company, they've listened to those needs and they've helped us plan out our future in terms of growth that needs to be done at this location.
It's just comforting to know I'm working with the Ide Company, knowing that they can accommodate our growth. In that way, they're an excellent partner.
Opportunities for retail, office, restaurant, and residential. Build the future as a member of the Ide Company family.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for Law of the Jungle Part 2, brought to you by Woody's Oasis on Trowbridge Road. Your healthy alternative to fast food. Eat Woody's and live longer. Time to talk a little Major League Baseball. Tom Crawford, 33 years ago, Steve Waite and I came up with this idea called the Catch-22.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Never realized that it would be the Cleveland Indians who would catch fire and win 22 straight games.
A little different meaning there.
How did that happen?
I'll tell you what, it was crazy. You know, I go back when we were in April, we were making our predictions, and we were going around. I think it was at the set, and we were going around who's going to be good, and then picking the Tigers. I think everybody said, yeah, but watch the Indians get hot later in the year.
Yeah.
And I think you were one of those that did that. I didn't do that, but 22 is crazy. Just the odds of, you know, to accomplish that. They're at 93 wins like right now. I mean, that is one hot baseball. That's an incredible accomplishment. Because you know you're going to have a pitcher who's going to have a bad day one way or another, and that's just amazing. Amazing feat.
And the team budget is still below the median for major league teams.
But you love that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so is the team attendance. I couldn't believe the other night they're going for win 19, and they have 18,000 people in the stands, and then 24. Finally, when they're going for the record, they got up to 29. Which would have been a bad summer crowd at Comerica Park.
Well, Comerica had 25,000 today for a meaningless game.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, you know, and they're terrible. It's not a good baseball town.
Yeah, I don't get Indians fans. I mean, they haven't been ranked. You know, they've been ranked either 24th or worse attendance-wise in the majors dating back to like 2010. So I don't get that. You got a good program. Go out there and support them. I have no idea. I won't understand that. I guess it has to be Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Ohio.
Speaking of which, the population now for Cleveland has shrunk so much that it's less than half of that for Columbus. What would happen, Doug, if the Indians decide to play half of their games in Cleveland and half of them in Columbus and call themselves the Ohio Indians? You have the Texas Rangers, you have the Minnesota Twins, you have the Arizona Diamondbacks, Colorado Rockies. Why couldn't you have the Ohio Indians?
It's a good question. I've never thought about that. I don't know.
They got a AAA team down there.
Nearly a million people living in Columbus now.
Yeah, it's the biggest town. Wow. It's bigger than Cincinnati, too. Yeah.
Well, I think, that's interesting. I didn't realize that the attendance for Cleveland was so bad because it's one of those historic teams. It's not like they haven't been around a while. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it is football country, no question about it.
I love the Browns.
That's an interesting idea, Jack. I never thought about that. It kind of caught me off guard.
Is there a rumor about that, or is that just a Jack Evling?
I just came up with that during the commercial break. Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever been. I don't know if that's ever been done before either. Where you kind of have multiple stadiums and you kind of split.
Like Green Bay Packers used to
maybe just
right with the Milwaukee.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess that's an example. But I mean, maybe if the attendance is so bad, you just move to Columbus and become the Columbus Indians.
Remember when Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, going way back, were the Steagles?
Yeah,
the Steelers and the Eagles, and they combined the teams.
That was World War II when the rosters were smaller, and the teams were on the verge of bankruptcy. But yeah, it's an interesting concept.
I'm sure when they make their playoff run, though, the stadium will fill up.
I would hope so.
You would hope so, right?
Yeah, I would hope so.
Al, the Tigers have stunk just about the entire season.
That's
today,
nice, I think. Yeah.
Just when you would never expect it, Matthew Boyd goes out and throws 8 2/3 innings of no-hit baseball. Finally, Tim Anderson gets an opposite field double, but he finishes with a one-hitter. And that's pretty much the way the Tigers go. When you expect them to do something, they don't. And then they come out and a good crowd. They nearly saw a no-hitter.
Right, and very true. And you know what? I think that, you look at the attendance for today down at Comerica Park. I know a few of my buddies in Detroit that they weren't doing anything. It was a beautiful weekend.
Friday night, man.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do.
Yeah, nothing to do. It's 80 degrees outside.
Pitch well.
Yeah, he struck out 11 batters and his career high. Everybody said, "Where's that been?"
I just think that attendance. I mean, it's a different weekend because it's the middle of September and it's 80 degrees outside. You want to get out and about.
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah, people want to go out and enjoy some baseball. Why not? You go for the atmosphere, not more so the success of the team.
It's a backdrop.
Funny story. Exactly. When I'm heading down there, Doug, you and Matt Charbonneau are finishing up the drive with Jack, and I said, "Okay, it's going to be great." I get down close to the ballpark, and there can't get through. The traffic is tremendous. I said, there can't be all these people down here to watch the Tigers and the White Sox. Nope, it was Kid Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so, I barely got there for the first pitch.
Great planning on that one, Jack.
Doug, when you look at the playoff picture now and the teams that are going to be there, Which teams do you like to meet in the ALCS and NLCS?
Well, I think in the ALCS, obviously you got to go with the hot team, which is Cleveland right now. And I said last week, it's sort of a joke, but not. Yankees and Cleveland would be a cool ALCS. Cleveland would have a chance to dethrone the Yankees. And then out west, and the NL, I should say, the Cubs and the Dodgers.
Cubs are hot right now.
Yeah, the Cubs are hot. So that would be good for baseball. 4 teams with a lot going for them. And the Cubs are trying to defend their championship. The Dodgers, their championship drought would be an interesting thing to see if they can dethrone the Cubs and get there. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking for.
For so many frustrated Tigers fans, guys, they can watch these playoff games. And they can see Boston and Houston and see Verlander and Price or Porcello, and they can look at the National League games and they can see J.D. Martinez against Max Scherzer. So there'll be a lot to watch. Just won't be wearing the old English D.
Tiger, right?
Yeah, former Tiger, right?
We'll be right back. We're going to talk boxing. Triple G and Canelo up next.
Sometimes your eyes can get bigger than your wallet. But at Checkers and Rallies, getting your hands on a quarter pound of juicy all-white meat chicken dippers with a bed of famous seasoned fries for only $2 just takes fishing for a little loose change. The quarter pound chicken dippers and fries box for just $2. Checkers and Rallies. Fast foodies know the deal.
I've always dreamed of owning my own business. But it takes a lot of work to make a dream come true. Luckily, my John Deere dealer made it easy. My 3E tractor handles every job I needed to, without breaking a sweat. And the money I saved lets me know I'm doing something right.
Introducing the industry-leading 6-year powertrain warranty on all John Deere compact tractors.
D&G Equipment, providing ag and turf solutions in Mason, Williamston, Corunna, Howell, Highland, Charlotte, and Rives Junction.
Learn the elements of comedy.
Say yes to Big Bang Theory 5 nights a week.
Coach's All-American Pub and Grill. What makes us All-American? Enjoying great food with ice-cold beverages and friendly service. Watching the game on one of our 21 large-screen TVs. With a variety of fun indoor and outdoor entertainment every night of the week. Connecting with friends, dining with family, or catching the game, you'll always have a great time. Coach's All-American Pub and Grill. Great food, fun, and friends.
The Student Bookstores are Green and White Shop headquarters. Outfit your entire family with Spartan gear. We have a large selection of men's, women's, and children's clothing. Show off your Michigan State pride with new shoes, socks, hats, and more. Have your tailgate ready with MSU party supplies, car accessories, and dress your pet in green and white. We have gifts for students, grads, alumni, and fans. From Vera Bradley and Dooney and Burke to diploma frames and more. Always shop SBS for the biggest and best selection of green and white. Go green, go white, go SBS.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, we have a taste for adventure because the only way to know how good something can be is to go for it. Try our veggie smoothies, Island Green, made with spinach, kale, pineapple, banana, and mango, and Caribbean Sea Burst with carrots, mango, banana, orange, and goji. Adventure begins with never knowing until you try, but always expecting something great. Go for a veggie smoothie at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Eat better, feel better.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. There you see the contestants last night. Triple G and against Canelo Alvarez. Al Martin, you're a big fight guy. How geeked were you to see these two finally get it on, and how disappointed were you with the strange decision by one of the judges?
Well, first off, I was incredibly excited because these two individuals are the two most exciting boxers on planet Earth. We've been waiting for this fight for a long time.
Much more exciting than Floyd, who's such a defensive fighter.
Yeah, he's such a defensive fighter, even though he kind of changed up his style, you know, when he did go up against Conor. But Triple G and Canelo, they always put on a show anytime they're inside the ring. And to put those two forces inside the ring together, I will say, though, when the decision came out, I had to do a double take, and I had to rewind my DVR because I thought it was a clear mistake.
Yeah.
However, as I sat back and reflected on where boxing has been decade after decade, you know, the last 10 to 20 years, to be honest with you, and to see how the sport has kind of suffered, I will say the Mike Tyson days were pretty nice, but the sport has suffered a lot because of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Politics is why this fight was not awarded to Triple G. Because anybody who saw the fight, especially if you look at the numbers, Triple G controlled the entire fight with his jab. There were moments when Canelo fought in spurts.
Yeah.
Triple G walked through those punches and was able to stay calm and still establish himself inside the ring. Everybody, when you look at the numbers, Triple G won by the numbers. However, you look at that scorecard right there.
Yeah.
Adelaide Bird, 118 to 110 in favor of Canelo. Even if you did have Canelo winning the fight, it wasn't that big of a gap. This is why the sport has suffered, because judges who have never in their life stepped inside of a boxing ring don't know just how much it means to these fighters to train that hard and to come out with a decision like that. A draw? I couldn't believe it.
She's had some funny scorecards in the past, but this one, she only gave Gennady Golovkin 2 rounds. And I mean, I thought he won at least 8.
Exactly.
So what's her deal then? What's her deal? When you talk about politics, I mean, what is this?
No,
I mean, when I see something like this, I think the fight's fixed.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
You know, this has been something that's plagued it for 100 years.
For a long time. I mean, you can go back to the Jeff Horn, Manny Pacquiao fight earlier this summer. And speaking of Manny Pacquiao, I mean, how about the Timothy Bradley fight, that first fight? I think a lot of these judges have ulterior motives, money on the line. A lot of people want to see a rematch. They want to see a rematch with 2 unblemished records against these 2 fighters. It makes no sense to me, though, because this corruption is going to continue to turn fans off, like myself, who are going to sit there and say, okay, what is going on?
Doug, I was talking to Bob Every and our good friend Dennis Burnside, and I said they really need to bring boxing into the 21st century and have posted round-by-round scoring. It's the only sport where it's a mystery heading into the last round. Not only do the fans not know, but the fighters don't know. They have no idea what strategy to adopt. I don't know why that can't happen.
I don't either. And if you can put a microchip in a football and have real-time statistics where how far a guy goes to run for a 10-yard touchdown and he runs 60 yards because the microchip's tracking him around. Why the hell can't you put those in boxing gloves, eliminate these judges, and just have the computers keep track of everything? And then at the end, you have the computers tallied up, and you post it round by round. Everybody in the arena, everybody at home sees it. It's all organized, and you eliminate all this crap where you have politics and people on the take.
And I think if you do post it and put these judges on blast and have that out there, so these fighters know where they are, hey, you hold these judges accountable when you do that, for sure.
Tom Crawford, I know you're not a fight fan.
Why the sport is flawed.
But you're a producer now. You're in charge of a production, Tom Crawford Productions. Who would you like to see in the ring? Give me 2 people you'd love, you'd pay to see.
I'll go back to October 2011, Jim Schwartz and Jim Harbaugh for that. That's sing a little bit. I'd love to have them going at it, and that would have been awesome.
That'd be a good fight.
I'd take Harbs. Jim Harbaugh.
That would have been a good one, right? I think a lot of people would love to see that.
I like boxing.
I guess, right? I guess.
Better than Bo Schembechler or Woody Hayes, right? We'll be right back with more. Our Culver's Weekly Awards up next.
I can get you in this Malibu for $152 a month.
We need to save people money. Woo! Good news. You can get it for $120 a month.
Hiring Caesar's been our best idea yet. He's really saved our customers a lot of money. We're tackling high prices at every Graf dealership.
Lease a 2017 Chevy Malibu, just $120 a month, or drive off in a brand new 2018 Equinox, just $110 a month.
And we'll give you a minimum of $3,000 for your trade.
We're tackling high prices at every Graf dealership.
Team spirit. Face paint. More cowbell. Dean Trailway's Motor Coach takes care of your travel, so you can support your favorite Spartan teams and focus on the important things. Dean Trailways, your favorite ride.
Greater Lansing, Michigan is the winning choice for your next athletic tournament or event. From hardcourt to shooting sports, soccer, baseball, and bowling, we've got facilities available near team-friendly dining and lodging options. Having a Big Ten school in our backyard gives our community a constant buzz of youthful enthusiasm and provides a host of top-notch sports venues available to visiting groups as well. The GLSA is excited to be a part of your team. Contact us today.
The 9-9 is back, Tuesday, September 26th, after the MEC on Fox.
After reviewing the play, you should be driving a Honda from Capital Honda. During Capital Honda's Savings Rush, catch 2017 Honda Accord LX, 0 down, $219 a month. Score 2017 Honda Civic LX, $169 a month. Rush to Capital Honda today.
Look at all that dinner for $4. And before you say, but Denny's, those 2 strips of bacon, 2 eggs, and 2 fluffy pancakes are clearly breakfast. We say at $4, does it really matter? Denny's $4 Everyday Value Slam. Order now at dennys.com.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for a cool and smooth segment brought to you by the 4 Culver's locations in mid-Michigan. Since 1984, Culver's has been delighting guests one meal at a time with scrumptious butter burgers and premium frozen custard. That's Culver's. Welcome to delicious. All right, Team 208. Who has been as cool and smooth as a Culver's mint explosion this week? Al Martin, let's start with you and our play of the week.
Play of the week. You know, I debated about this. I was going to, at first, go with Chase McGrath. I mean, how great was that? Double overtime, 43-yard field goal to win it. Great moment.
Yeah.
But then I woke up today, pretty late, and I saw the result of the Michigan and Michigan State men's soccer game. Ooh. And DeJuan Jones, East Lansing's own DeJuan Jones, in overtime, a 1-0 dub to give the Spartans a win over the Wolverines. The Big Bear Trophy will stay in East Lansing. It was a great goal from the corner. He gets a leg on it and goes crazy, takes off his shirt. That is my play of the week.
How about that, Tom? Would you agree with that one?
Absolutely.
You like that?
Yeah, I like it.
Do you know DeJuan Jones?
Yeah, absolutely. I've known him since he was little. Yeah, so that's a good pick.
All right. What about our game of the week? Doug Warren, you only saw 14 of them yesterday.
There can be any other choice, but USC Texas last night out in the Coliseum, 27-24, 800-plus yards of total offense. 2 tremendously quarterbacks, young guys, Sam Darnold, of course, and then Sam Ehlinger, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, kind of come out of nowhere. Colin Johnson, I don't know how many passes he caught, but it was virtually every one. It's just that connection. It was a great game. One of the reasons why college football now is better than the NFL.
What about Memphis, UCLA?
That was a good game, too, but last night's game was even better. But, yeah, Memphis pulling off the upset 3 years in a row. They beat a ranked team in the Liberty Bowl. Big, big win for Memphis over UCLA and Josh Rosen.
Any other nominations?
Did I hear Doug say college football is better than the NFL?
He did.
Yeah, I did.
I would agree with that.
Oxygen. I need oxygen. My
it's
word.
true.
This is a transformation.
Look,
We've worked on it for a long time.
Carolina wins 9-6 today. I mean, come on, man.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. College football rules right now.
Yeah, the Seattle game was a stinker, too. You watched that one.
Yeah, the snooze fest, right?
All right, Tom Crawford, what about our team of the week?
I'm rubber stamping my comments earlier in the show. Oklahoma State Cowboys, I think they're playing the best college football right now. They went out and smothered Pitt 59-21 on the road. Mason Rudolph, great quarterback. They got a lot of talent. They got a lot of tremendous offense. And Gunny's got these guys going. I think they're the dark horse to win the national championship. They're going to sneak in. Maybe they're like the Washington. You're the Washington Huskies. I'm going with Okie State. Yep. Is that that kind of that dark horse? Keep your eye on.
Yep.
As long as they don't have to play Central Michigan again. Right?
Yeah.
They're still complaining
They got
about
Texas
that.
on the 21st of October and in Austin, and then they got Bedlam in Stillwater on November the 4th.
One team to watch in the Big 12, TCU. It's a team that's kind of, I thought about them. It's kind of a pick out of the Big 12. There's a lot of good defense. They're playing well so far. But that's one they could pull an upset along the way and disrupt Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's chances in the Big 12.
How many Big 10 teams get into the playoff? 1, 2, or none?
I say none. I'm not.
I still say one.
I say one. I'll say one. But boy,
not the right one, Tom.
I know. Ask me in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's
I'm not feeling it right now.
All right, time for our player of the week, and had so many suggestions. What a week! First of all, a shout out to Lisa Byington becoming
she did great.
The first female play-by-play broadcaster for Big Ten Network. Terrific job. How about Matt Boyd? What he did with the near no-hitter today, 8 2/3 innings, but 2 others. I have to give a shout out to Antonio Gates, who started his career at Michigan State, believe it or not, before he transferred.
How long has he been in the NFL?
He's been in NFL a long time. Long enough to catch touchdown passes from Phillip Rivers, caught 85 from him, 23 from Drew Brees, 2 from LaDainian Tomlinson, and 2 from Doug Flutie. That's how long he's been in the NFL.
That's longevity.
But Kelly Bryant, junior quarterback for Clemson, was in Deshaun Watson's shadow. They brought in a couple of 5-star. Next year they got the best player in the country coming into Clemson. Everyone's saying, well, Kelly Bryant will just push him aside. Last night he looked like Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson put together.
That's a good point.
For Tom Crawford, Al Martin, Doug Warren, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday, everyone. Have a great week.